Hello, everybody. How are you? Back again with a new series, a new community spotlight series. This week it's going to be Omaha, Nebraska. Now, if you're not from the United States, or even if you are, you may not be aware Nebraska is in almost the exact center of the states. And Omaha is on the eastern edge of Nebraska, on the border with a state known as Iowa, separated by the Missouri River. Folks, the Missouri River is the longest river in the United States. It starts in Alaska, runs through British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, Ontario, goes back to Edmonton, stops in and has a cup of coffee, runs down to Calgary, takes in a couple movies, spills over into the United States, into Montana, and then makes its way down past Omaha, where it thinks about stopping to have some fun and realizes there's not a lot of fun going on in Omaha, and it continues on where it meets the Mississippi River, which then spills into the Gulf of Mexico. But the Missouri plays a big part in the city's development over the years, as we'll find out in the series of videos we're going to be doing about Omaha this week. And this video is simply an introduction to give you an idea of where it is, what it's about, and then we'll get into its early history later, including a look at some of the native populations that lived here long before a white man showed up. And woman, white man and woman. And then we will look at the economy. We're going to talk to people that live there. And this is what's different about my videos. Now, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to these videos, they're basically a parody of history videos and travel videos and all other kinds of videos. But I'm talking specifically about these community spotlight videos. And so that's why 99.9% of it is made up off the top of my head. And what's different is a lot of these travel channels, travel vlogs, travel YouTube channels, or history channels, history TV channels, history vlogs, history blogs, all of those categories, they work at a top level, right? They're kind of doing a flyover. Whereas I am getting down into the nooks and crannies of these communities and talking to the people on the street. Okay? And so that's what's different. And so we're going to be talking to people on the streets of Omaha, the surrounding communities, and we're going to find out what's happening, why the city is known worldwide as one of the leading communities in the United States. So this video, we're just going to give you a quick snapshot of where it is and what it's about, and probably you are familiar with, maybe not probably. Believe it or not, guys, Omaha, which is a medium-sized city in the middle of the Midwest being the central part of the United States, this town has what many people believe is the richest man in the world. And for many of you people, you already know the name. His name is Warren Buffett. Now, Warren Buffett started out just as a middle-class kid in Omaha, got into investing, and grew what is now the Berkshire Hathaway conglomerate, meaning they have several companies under their umbrella and their investment portfolio. So this guy, so it's the contrast. See, that's the contrast of what is, let's call him the richest man in the world versus the staid middle class, middle American profile of the city itself, right? But it also tells you that, when you think of a rich person, you might think of somebody jet setting around the world, skiing in Switzerland, south of France for sun tanning and some good bread. Perhaps a jaunt over to New York City to take in a movie, over to Los Angeles for pilot season and to invest in a movie, and then perhaps over to Japan for some nice ice cream. Okay? all the time wearing custom-made clothes by Italian designers and Swiss watches worth $450,000. Now, that is a rich person, a one view of a rich person. Now, in Omaha, they have rich people, and I don't know for sure, because I don't know a lot of rich people, but there is this book called The Millionaire Next Door, and it profiled and talked about the real or the most common millionaires in the United States are not these jet-setting high flyers. They're regular people that have a company or a service or something that they started, and suddenly, over time, they grew and grew, and then suddenly they're a millionaire. And they talked to one guy, he said, I didn't even know I was a millionaire. He's just so busy with his company, and it wasn't that important to him to be a millionaire. He just turned out that way. Well, that's the impression I personally get from Omaha. I think that that guy driving down the road with an old station wagon with a canoe on top and fly fishing bumper stickers on the bumper, that guy could probably be a millionaire. All right, and he may not be, but it's just the low key, low pressure, humble, lifestyle that I perceive that a lot of people lead in Omaha. Now, there might be some jet setters running around Omaha. Maybe there are some farmers with Italian suits on, okay, that have these $400,000 watches, driving tractors around, listening to the latest art news from Switzerland, France, and galleries in London. There could be. But something tells me more likely if they're in the tractor at all, rather than hiring people to drive the tractor, if they're in the tractor, they are wearing a John Deere hat, overalls, Lands' End boots, and a plaid shirt that was handed down from their older brother who sadly passed on. So that's what I think is going on. Now, I may be wrong. If you're in Omaha, let me know, but I perceive it as this, as really the bedrock of the country, as this type of community. Now, how do I know this? Or what's my perspective? Well, I lived in Des Moines, Iowa for many years. And I've been to Omaha many, many, many times. And I've competed in Omaha on the ice, playing hockey, and I've driven through Omaha. I've slept in Omaha in various hotels and playing hockey or doing whatever the heck we were doing in Omaha. And I've driven back and forth between LA and Ohio many times over the years that I've lived here, 20-something years now, and driven through Omaha many times. So those are my receipts. But the point that I was trying to make a little earlier is you should be aware that the videos that I do on this channel are 99% of them, it's just stuff I completely make up off the top of my head. Now, why does that happen? Why? Well, it's just, honestly, it's an exercise in keeping the pathways to my creative brain open. That's really what all these videos are. So it doesn't matter really if it's Jacksonville or San Diego or Denver or Omaha, all of which we've done videos on other than Omaha, which we're starting today. It's really the same malarkey. It's me just making up baloney off the top of my head, and for some reason it makes me laugh, and in my mind that's a success. I have very low bar for what I determine to be success. Oh my goodness. So guys, let's talk about a little bit about Omaha. It's really interesting. This city played such an important role in the development of the country. One of which was a serious transportation hub, including playing the role of shipping a lot of the cattle that were on cattle drives. Meaning, if a ranch in ranches, plural, in Texas had cattle they wanted to get to the northeast. Well, how are you going to get there? You can't drive the cattle, okay, through Dallas, up over the Panhandle, through Oklahoma City, take a right, then somehow make your way up the eastern seaboard at Myrtle Beach. Because if these cattle, if you tried to drive your cattle through Myrtle Beach and they hear an old drifter song and they start dancing on the beach, okay? Let's say you had 5,000 head of cattle dancing on the beach to a drifter song. They have no incentive to go past there. They are not going to go up to New York, Boston, Providence, and points north for you to sell your cattle up in that part of the country. It's just not going to happen. So what would happen is you would drive your cattle to Omaha, and the Omaha stockyards were one of the biggest stockyards in the world. And then they would get on the train there. Okay, that's why it's a major transportation hub, is and was. And then those cattle would ride all the way to the eastern seaboard from Omaha. Now, they might stop in Cleveland. Why? Because a lot of good rock and roll music was going on in Cleveland. Now, cows are known to love good music. They like to go to concerts. They like to dance. They like to have a funny cigarette now and then. Okay? And so the cattle, they might stop the train in Cleveland on the way. Cleveland is the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there's a reason. Because even in those early days of the Old West, when they were doing cattle drives, they would make sure that the cows got good seats at some of the good shows. Why? Because happy cows are good eating. And so then they would hop back on the train and drive to, like I said, New York, Philadelphia, wherever the heck they were going. So that is a key point of Omaha's past, that it was a major meat packing, stockyard, and transportation hub. But that's not all that's going on today. Of course, they have a lot of white collar, let's call them businesses. They've got insurance. They've got travel. They've got let me see. Let me look at my notes here. Wholesaling, construction, and finance. They've got a huge railroad company there, and they've got all kinds of smaller companies in a variety of industries, including banking and architecture and shamalama ding dong. Well, what's interesting about Omaha to me, as a person that is constantly battling my weight, is that Omaha is an amazing source of some of the biggest food developments in food and food service and food packaging and merchandising in the history of food. I mean, come on, get ready to put your hands together, guys. Omaha was the place that they developed the Reuben sandwich. Now, look, if you haven't been down to Factor's Deli on Pico Boulevard in West LA and ordered a Reuben sandwich with their special sauce and ate the whole thing and then looked up to the sky and said, "Lord, take me now, because if you do, I will be happy because I've had this Reuben sandwich at Factor's Deli." That's how good it is. And that was invented in Omaha. You would not be able to look up at the sky and roll your eyes back in your head and say, "Lord, it's okay if you take me now because I've had the Reuben sandwich at Factor's," if it wasn't for the city of Omaha. And you can substitute whatever great Reuben sandwich place that you've been to. And if you haven't had one, I really question your authenticity. I have serious doubts about you now that you haven't had a good Reuben sandwich. I want you to take care of that this week. That was developed in Omaha. Okay? Now, if you look at me, you go, well, there's a guy struggling with his weight. And I fully admit that 80% of your weight it's exercise, but it's really diet. I mean, you can run all you want. You can run up and down hills, run across flat ground, run through valleys, run through oceans, run on top of ocean liners, across buildings. I mean, you can do marathons, but if you don't have your diet right, you're never going to get all of that weight off that you can. All right? And I admit that I get tempted. You know, I've got 2 bananas sitting here right next to me. I eat the fruit, I eat the vegetables. But unfortunately, I complement that effort, or I destroy that effort, let's say, because of my wandering eye. You know, the next thing you know, I'm downing a piece of chocolate cake. All right, and maybe the whole chocolate cake. But one of the reasons that is that my mom made chocolate cakes growing up And the cake mix that she used was developed by Duncan Hines right there in Omaha, Nebraska. Another brilliant food development from this important city. Do you see can you see where I'm going on this section of the video? Okay, now that's not all. Raisin Bran, the cereal, was invented in Omaha. Now, Quaker Oats was invented in Akron. All right. Now, somebody in Omaha was crunching on their Quaker Oats in 18 whatever, and they said, you know what we should do, Kyle? Throw some raisins on there. And then Kyle tried it, and they looked over. Wait, so what do you think, Kyle? And he's chewing. He's like, And Kyle, what do you think? What do you think? Oh, it's delicious, Kyle said. And the next thing you know, Raisin Bran became a worldwide hit. And I have had so many mornings where I was eating that Raisin Bran and going, man, I don't know who came up with this. Apparently Kyle was the first one to eat it, but I don't know who put it together. But, I give them a tip of my golf cap, my Irish cap. All right, you thought we were done. You thought we were done, and folks, I want you to know one more thing about food and Omaha. And this was particularly important to me in my 20s when I was running around Columbus, Ohio, trying to date girls and staying out late. And I didn't have time to cook, and I would get out that TV dinner. Well, the TV dinner, guys, was invented right in Omaha. Right in Omaha. By a guy named Carl Swanson, and you might even know the name Swanson's TV Dinners. Now, I wasn't a huge fan. I never got I always got the discount ones. I didn't get the nice Swanson's ones. I got the ones that were named like, Fred's TV Dinners or whatever, and they tasted like cardboard. But all you needed was something to fill your gullet so that you could get back out there on the road and go disco dancing with the ladies. I think we were still disco dancing in the 80s. I can't remember. Things are kind of blurry from those years. So I wasn't a huge fan, but at the time you could get 12 of them for $12 at the Big Bear grocery store. And so I did that, and it kept me alive long enough to make videos in my late 50s that I make up off the top of my head for my own enjoyment. Okay, I call it the audience of one. The audience of one strategy. All right, guys, that is pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. Just a quick snapshot. Omaha is going to be a great subject for this week. And if it's not, we're going to make it so. All right? It's just the magic that happens when I put these topics through my personal process of ditzilization. Okay? We're going to ditzilize it. And when it's done, it's going to be at least humorous to me and hopefully to you too. Is that it? Yeah. Hey, if you have any comments or questions, or if there's a city that you want me to talk about down the road, we're going to do one each week. And let me know. Let me know. We'll put it on the list, and we'll put it through that ditzilization process and see what comes out the other end. Talk to you soon.